Hello everyone, this is Savita Acharya from Canara Engineering College. In this video, I will deal with timing control in behavioral modeling. Verilog provides various timing control constructs in behavioral modeling. These timing control constructs are very much essential because unless you specify the timing control, the simulation would not advance in time. The timing control statements specify the simulation time at which the procedural statements has to be executed. There are various categories of timing control statements, namely delay-based timing control, event-based timing control, and level-sensitive timing control. First category is delay-based timing control. Without knowing that it is delay-based timing control, we have already used it in many places. That is, while writing the test bench in the test for the lab programs, while applying the stimulus in the test bench, what we have done is we have specified a delay for every combination of these inputs that we are applying to our circuit. Right? So delay-based timing control is an expression in an expression specifies the time duration between when the statement is encountered and when it is executed. Okay, so delays are specified by the symbol hash. So in the stimulus, in the test bench, while applying the stimulus, we have used this hash. That means after a delay of whatever number follows this symbol will be the delay. So that means after a delay of that many units, the statement following is to be executed. Okay. Delay based timing control can be specified by a number, identifier, or minimum typical maximum expression. So we have only used the first type, that is we have just specified the delay using a number, but you can also specify by using an identifier or minimum typical maximum expression, delay expression. There are basically three types of delay control for procedural assignments, namely the regular delay control, intra-assignment delay control, and zero delay control. We'll discuss each one of them one by one. Firstly, regular delay control. Regular delay control is used when a non-zero delay is specified to the left of a procedural assignment. So this is something what we have been doing so far. That is by specifying the regular delay by mentioning a non-zero value. So here I will express the different ways in which we can give this regular delay using an example. So here I have a piece of code where I have parameter latency equal to 20. If you recall, parameter is a keyword which is used to declare a constant in Verilog. You have come across this in module 2, and latency is the name of the constant, its identifier name, equal to 20. So I have initialized that latency to 20. Similarly, I have parameter delta equal to 2. In addition to that, I have some registers X, Y, Z, P and Q. I have an initial block here. This will be executed in the sequential order and it will be executed only once as per the definition of the initial block. So x equal to 0 is the first expression where I have not specified any delay. So this will be executed any delay. Next is hash 10 y equal to 1. This is an example of specifying delay control with the number. This we are familiar with. So delay execution of y equal to 1 will be done by 10 units. That is, it will be delayed by 10 time units from the previous execution time. Next, hash latency. So this is an example of specifying the delay control using an identifier. So latency is an identifier and have initialized it to 20. So hash latency means hash 20 z equal to 0. So I want to execute this statement z equal to 0 with a delay of 20 units. Next expression is hash latency plus delta. So this is an example of specifying delay control with expression. So latency is 20 and delta is 2, which is already initialized here. So what I am doing is I want to give a delay of 22 units for executing this p equal to 1. Next is hash y. So this also is an example of specifying delay control with identifier, but now this y is not some constant which we have declared initially, but it is a identifier that is taking value inside the same initial block. So y equal to 1, so I want to give a delay of 1 time unit to execute this x equal to x plus 1. Lastly, we can also specify the delay using minimum, typical and maximum delay values. So here hash 4 is to 5 is to 6, q equal to 0. This kind of delay expression we have already seen in gate level modeling. Next is intra-assignment delay control. Now, in regular delay control, we have specified the delay on the left hand side of the expression. So instead of specifying delay control to the left of the assignment, it is possible to assign a delay to the right of the assignment operator. Such delay specification alters the flow of activity in a different manner. So this is called as intra-assignment delay control. So this also we will look with the help of an example. So I have a small piece of code where I declare register XYZ and I have an initial block here. Okay, one small initial block where I initialize x and z to 0 without any delay. So at time t equal to 0 itself, x and z are initialized to 0. Now I say y equal to hash 5x plus z. Note here it is not hash 5 y equal to x plus z. It is y equal to hash 5 x plus z. So I have specified the delay to the right of the assignment operator. So in this case what happens is at time t equal to 0 itself, the x and z values will be read, x plus z will be evaluated and stored temporarily. Okay, and after a delay of 5 time units, the evaluated value will be assigned to the left hand side signal, that is y. Okay, so this actually after this is evaluated at time t equal to 0 and at the time when it is assigned to the left hand side variable, that is time t equal to 5, that is between time 0 and 5, there may be any changes happening on these two signals which will not be taken into account. Okay, as per the working of this intra-assignment delay control statements. So if I have to replace or substitute this intra-assignment delay using simple regular control delay, then regular delay control, then it would look like this. That is x equal to 0, z equal to 0. At the time t equal to 0 only, see here I have not specified any delay. At time t equal to 0 only, I evaluate x plus z and store it in some temporary variable temp underscore xz and hash 5 y equal to temp underscore xz. That means after a delay of 5 time units, whatever was there in xz, temp xz will be assigned to y. So this is equivalent to this intra-assignment delay. Okay. So meaning of this is at previous execution time only, that is here it is 0. This will be, the right hand side will be, values will be read and evaluated, but the result will be stored temporarily somewhere and it will be assigned after the specified delay. Another type of delay control is zero delay control. Procedural statements in different always initial blocks may be evaluated at the same simulation time. Say for example, here I have two initial blocks which are both doing some assignment to the same variables, different assignments to the same variables. That is, in the first initial block I am saying x equal to 0 and y equal to 0. In the other initial block I am saying x equal to 1 and y equal to 1. As per the definition of the initial block, we know that initial block will be executed at time t equal to 0. So both of them will be executed at time t equal to 0, and the order of execution of these statements in different always initial blocks is non-deterministic, in the sense that I cannot say whether at the end of execution whether x and y both will be 0 or x and y both will be 1, because there is a race condition. So zero delay control is a method to ensure that a statement is executed last after all other statements in that simulation time are executed. So this is basically used to eliminate race conditions. So meaning of this is, whichever statement you associate with a zero delay, that is, to whichever statement you have hash 0, this statement will be executed last. So as per the definition of zero delay control, I can say that at the end of execution both x and y will be having a value of 1. But if there are multiple zero delay statements, the order between them is non-deterministic. So in this example again, there are two statements with the zero delay control. So here again it is unsure which of them will be executed first. But anyways, since they are using two different variables, there won't be any ambiguity in the values that x and y are storing. So we have seen delay based timing control. Next is event based timing control. An event, as I have already mentioned, is a change in the value on a signal, that is a register or a net. Events can be utilized to trigger execution of a statement or block of statements. Okay, so based on some event we can trigger execution of a statement or a set of statements. There are four types of event based timing control, namely regular event control, named event control, event or control, and level sensitive timing control. A regular event control is I think we have just started with behavioral modeling. In that in the lab we have used the at symbol, that is always at, right? So this is an example of regular event control. The at symbol is used to specify an event control. Okay, statements can be executed on changes in signal value or at a positive or negative transition of the signal value. So here are a few examples. I have, say, at clock q equal to d. So meaning of this is at, it is checking for a event. So what is an event? Event is a change in the signal value, right? So at clock means q equal to d is executed whenever the signal clock changes value. That is, we have a clock, a continuous train of pulses. So when it changes from 0 to 1, there is an event occurring on the clock. When it changes from 1 to 0, again there is an event occurring on the clock. So for every positive going transition or a negative going transition, this statement, that is q equal to d, will be executed. That is the meaning of this statement. The second example is at pause edge of clock, q equal to d. So meaning of this is, here this pause edge is an attribute. So this is going to extract that attribute from the signal that is associated with that. Okay, so I have written pause edge of clock means it is going to extract the positive edge of the clock. So that is an event. So it is going to identify whenever a positive edge of the clock occurs. So this Q equal to D, this assignment will be done only for every positive edge of the clock. Similarly, to identify the negative edge, we have the attribute neg edge. So this will be executed only for every negative edge of the clock signal. Now here we have the event specified in a slightly different manner. I have Q equal to at pause edge of clock D. So this is something similar to your intra assignment delay. In intra assignment delay, what did we do? The right hand side expression will be evaluated immediately, but it will be stored temporarily in a temporary variable internally, and at the specified delay, that is intra assignment delay, it will be assigned to the left hand side variable. So just like that, here D is evaluated immediately. Whenever execution comes to that point, it is evaluated immediately, but the assignment of assignment of D to Q is done only when a positive edge of the clock occurs. Next is named event control. So here we can have, so in the event control, we have seen the default events occurring. Named event control means we can name an event. So Verilog provides the capability to declare an event and then trigger and recognize the occurrence of that event. So just like at clock is just checking whether there is a signal change on the clock, or pause edge of the clock identifies whether there is a positive edge. Neg edge identifies whether there is a negative edge. Similarly, we can create or name our own events. So the event actually does not hold any data. A named event is declared by the keyword event, and an event is triggered by the symbol arrow, dash and arrow. The triggering of the event is recognized by the symbol at of the signal value. I think this is better explained with an example. So here is an example where it is example of a data buffer which is storing data after the last packet of the data has arrived. So here I declare a event with the identifier name received underscore data. So event is a keyword and received underscore data is the identifier name. So what I am doing is I am defining an event called received underscore data. Now, always at pause edge of the clock, that is for every positive edge of the clock, I want to check whether the last data packet has arrived. So this is a simple if statement, if last data packet. So if this condition will be true only if the last packet has arrived. So only in that case it will enter this if block. Now what I am doing is this symbol, this dash and arrow, front arrow symbol, this indicates the triggering of an event. So triggering of an event you can associate with only those identifiers which are declared as an event. So received underscore data I have declared as an event. So now I can trigger an event on this identifier, on this event name, right? So this symbol is going to trigger an event on this event name. So when this event will be triggered only if the last data packet has arrived. Now I have one more always block to which I am checking whether an event has occurred on the received data. Received data is nothing but my named event, right? Named event. So I am checking whether there is an event occurring on received data. So the execution of this block will only be triggered if there is an event occurring on this received data. So what happens if it is true? I am concatenating the different data packets, that is data packet 0, 1, 2, 3 into a data buffer. That is some task to be done. So the point to be noted here is I am declaring a event called as received data, and I am checking using a simple if statement whether the last data packet has arrived, and this is with reference to the clock. These sequential circuits will be functioning with synchronism with the clock. So that's why for the positive edge of the clock I am checking whether the last data packet has arrived. If true, then I am triggering an event on this named event, and whenever there is a event triggered on this, the event will be identified here, and this always block will be executed. And inside this always block I have put something which is to be done on the occurrence of the last data packet. There is one more event control, that is event or control. Event or control, sometimes a transition on any one of the multiple signals or events can trigger the execution of a statement or a block of statements. This is expressed as an OR of events or signals. So this again depends on your circuit to be designed. So you have to decide how your circuit is to be designed or modeled, right? So here I have an example of a level sensitive latch with the asynchronous reset. So I have here, let me write the truth table of a level sensitive latch with asynchronous reset. Asynchronous reset means it is going to have highest priority, right? So if the reset is 1, then irrespective of what is the value of the clock, what is the value of the D input, the latch will be reset. Reset means the output will be equal to 0. Only if the reset is inactive, that is only if the reset is 0, then I can check whether clock is 1. Now if clock is 1, it will behave as a normal latch, that is if D equal to 0, Q will be 0, and when D is 1, Q will be 1, right? So this I can model using Verilog, using this piece of code where I have always at inside the brackets reset or clock or D. Meaning of this is the always block, the statements inside the always block will be executed whenever there is an event occurring on reset or clock or the D input. Now once it enters the always block, I need to see that it behaves like the one which I want it to be, right? So I want asynchronous reset. So inside the always block I need to check for reset first. This is with the in line with what I have written in the truth table. In the truth table what I have done is reset is having the highest priority. So the inside the always block I will be checking if reset equal to 1 first. Okay, so if the reset is 1, I need not check what is the value of clock or what is the value of D input. Directly the latch will be reset, that is output Q will be equal to 0. Now else if clock, that means if reset is 0, then the next higher priority signal is clock. So here I am checking if clock is 1. If clock is 1, then Q will be equal to D. So you need to very carefully write the code in order to model the circuit in which in the way you want it to behave like. Finally, the level sensitive timing control. So this is also so far we have seen event which are specified using this at symbol. This at symbol. This at is always identifying edge triggering, right? Edge transition. But here I have one more kind, that is Verilog also allows level sensitive timing control, that is the ability to wait for a certain condition to be true before a statement or a block of statements is executed. For that we use the word wait, keyword wait, to check for level sensitive constructs. So I have the always statement inside which I write wait count enable is the signal I want to check for, and if that is true, hash 20, that means I want a delay of 20 time units, count equal to count plus 1. So here what is happening is the value of count enable is monitored continuously. Now if count enable is 0, this statement will not be executed at all. If it is 1, then the statement count equal to count plus 1 will be executed, but this will be done only after a delay of 20 time units. This is the requirement of the statement, right? So if count enable stays at 1 for a longer time, then this variable count will be incremented every 20 time units, right? So this is the meaning of this. So this wait is usually associated with checking for levels. That's why it is level sensitive timing control. In this video, we have seen different types in which you can apply timing controls in Verilog. Thank you.